None in Three is a research centre for the global prevention of gender-based violence. It takes its name from the fact that 1 in 3 women is subject to violence in their lifetime. We are dedicated to changing this reality.
None in Three aims to prevent gender-based violence through multidisciplinary research into its drivers and impacts, strengthening policy and action to better respond to and prevent violence, and increasing awareness through government and public engagement.
We use digital technologies to engage those most amenable to change, young people, developing and evaluating pro-social, educational computer games.
Since 2016, the Centre has established projects in 8 countries, and we will continue to expand our activities subject to further funding in the future.
Projects within the Centre are divided into distinct work packages based on the None in Three systems model. Each has a specific remit, but all function in synergy to meet None in Three objectives.
All that we've achieved in the project is down to the collective efforts of the team. I am proud that I was able to catalyse action and facilitate the development and to make sure that we achieve what we did. But ultimately, this was really about the brilliance of the people I was gifted to work with. In terms of a legacy on a personal level, I think I've left a lot of knowledge. I hope I have. I've worked in this field for over 40 years, and I hope I've shared some of my expertise with others. I hope that my management style, which may not have suited everybody, but it's essentially based on consensus where you can, but being very clear when assertive and strategic leadership is needed, not being afraid to make the tough decisions and to tackle the complexities and challenges of a project like this. Really, there couldn't have been a more complex project than this, especially when the pandemic hit us. So I hope that my style of management might have kind of helped other people to realise that soft-spoken doesn't mean weak, that being calm and gentle doesn't mean ineffectual, because I believe I was a very effective leader. In terms of other legacies, None in Three has left a legacy of research that didn't exist before, and interventions and new alliances and new skills and new tools in our partner countries. In terms of a wider legacy, I worked to establish a sustainability program which has seen None in Three translated from a project into a permanent research centre in the university, identified and appointed a successor to lead the new centre on my retirement. I also identified and submitted grant applications so that the work could continue. Because if we know anything, we know that gender-based violence is not going away anytime soon. And in fact, as we found out through COVID, it has actually escalated in many places.
Hello, I'm Dr. Nadia Wager, and I'm the Acting Director of the None in Three Research Centre. I've been in post now since January this year, although I started my involvement with None in Three and shadowing the former director, Adele Jones, back in September during the peak of the COVID pandemic. So it's been a strange time not getting to meet everybody in person that you'd like to do.
So my role is to facilitate the smooth running and ultimately the delivery of all of our research centre activities. The most significant activity up to now has been our 4-year, 4-country, 7-work package international research project funded by the UK government's Global Challenges Research Fund, whereby we've been researching different forms of gender-based violence and developing pro-social computer games in order to influence attitudes and behaviours to prevent future violence. So this has been a project management role like no other. It's been an absolute joy to work with and build relationships with new colleagues across the globe. And with such a large and complex project with a lot of moving parts, it has certainly kept me on my toes.
I am the Centre Manager for None in Three, and my role is important because as part of the Centre Management Group, I oversee all operations within the Centre, ensuring that our work is of high quality, is delivered on time and is delivered within budget. Our co-leads for qualitative research, Dr. Graham Gibbs and Dr. Timothy Gomersall, have worked with the country research teams to support design, delivery, analysis and reporting of our research with more than 300 survivors and perpetrators of different forms of gender-based violence.
Professor Song Wu has been Work Package Lead for Game Development, overseeing the work to translate our research findings into pro-social video games.
I am the producer at None-in-3 and I'm responsible for all games development work on the UK, Jamaica, India and Uganda projects. The games are obviously a key part of the project, and together with the games team consisting of Adam, Alexis, Hayley, John and Amema, as well as previously Helen and Natasha, we've created these 4 innovative, exciting pro-social games.
My name is John Pearson and I'm a research assistant for the None-in-3 Work Package Lead Games team. My primary role was to develop journal articles and conference papers to highlight the important work that the games team were doing, both with the development of each game in regard to past academic research and industry practice, as well as to justify the use of the multidisciplinary game development framework within each game. This role was important, I believe, as it allowed the development of papers and articles that justified and highlighted the processes that the games team used in conjunction with other work packages to develop each country game.
Catherine Sharat has been lead for the quantitative research work package, working closely with research assistant Sam Mason and other colleagues to analyse data from our survey of more than 30,000 young people across 4 countries, and leading and supporting the delivery of randomised control trials to evaluate our games.
My role has changed throughout the course of this 4-year project. I began as a research fellow working in Work Package 4, primarily tasked with designing and conducting the multi-country psychosocial survey that took place in each of the partner countries. Here we sought to establish the prevalence of attitudes towards and experiences of violence and abuse among the young people who took part. Then, midway through the project, after moving to a different university to take up a new job, my role within None-in-3 changed. Here forward, I took up the role of what was called Academic Transdisciplinary Coordinator, and I was responsible for ensuring the smooth collaborative working between different work packages and the country teams. Primarily, I was responsible for developing and delivering a package of training in collaboration with country directors and work package leaders to ensure the successful implementation of game trial training in the UK and Uganda.
I've been working as the lead for curriculum development in the project. The learning resources are a key output from the None-in-3 project. They provide a supportive, structured framework accompanying the delivery of our educational games. They can also be used as standalone resources.
Yeah, I'm a PhD researcher working for the None-in-3 Research Center, using a designed curriculum to promote the awareness of intimate partner violence among the students in schools.
Dr. Agata Dubowska led development of content for our online policy hub for gender-based violence.
My name is Melanie Barwick, and I'm a senior scientist in the Research Institute at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, Canada, and professor at the University of Toronto. For several years now, I've also been a visiting scholar at the University of Huddersfield by virtue of my role with the None-in-3 Research Centre and this research study. In addition to evaluating the effectiveness of the games, we've recognized the importance of assessing the feasibility of implementing the games in the school system should they prove to be effective. My role as an implementation scientist for this None-in-3 project was to lead the exploration of prospective implementation barriers and facilitators for the implementation of the games from the perspective of school-based individuals who experienced the games through the trial period.
My role within None-in-3 is to support the running of the Idea Hub, that's the Impact, Dissemination and Engagement Activities Hub. I focus mainly on the more academic side of this, where I support members of the Global Research Centre in their production of publications and other research-related outputs connected to the work of Nunn3, helping to disseminate research findings and translate them into accessible messages for a range of audiences, and in doing so helping to maximise the impact of the Centre's work. This role is important for communicating the work of the Centre to a range of different stakeholders and members of the public, and also because we feel it's crucial that Nunn3's work is as transparent, visible, accessible and engaging as possible to as broad an audience as possible.
My name is Nick Travis. I'm Communication and Administration Officer with Nunn3. I would say the main importance of my role has been in looking after our website and our online presence, supporting our social media outputs, supporting all of our email communications and our newsletters. So a lot of the public-facing communications that have come out from the centre I've been responsible for.
I'm Zaneta, Edey, a media consultant with the Nunn3 Centre. I was privileged to be a part of the team who created the communication and visibility strategy for the Nunn3 pilot project, which was then brought forward to the centre and helped to establish the Idea Hub. I've been involved in supporting Ryan's work in training the media teams in each country, but I'm particularly responsible for social media management and supporting post-production of all films across the centre.
My name is Ryan Greene and I'm a media consultant to the Nunn3 Centre. I work specifically with Work Package 7 with communication and visibility. My responsibilities stem from working, training media gathering teams and all forms of production in terms of film and video production, and ensuring the quality and standards of the university is maintained at all times.
Our Global Centre team has not worked in isolation throughout this project, but rather in constant collaboration with our country research teams in Uganda, Jamaica, India and the UK.
So this was a good opportunity for me to get on board to participate in conducting quantitative and qualitative research on the project, to make sure that we fully understand the conceptualization of child marriage. What are its ramifications? Who are the perpetrators? How about the victims or survivors? How can they be supported or helped? And also coming up with an innovative intervention that can be used to address the problem or the vice.
When we did our literature review and our interviews with various stakeholders, the emphasis came out as child sexual exploitation. Speaking to our survivors, what we're seeing is child sexual abuse. And as you know, research has to follow where the data is taking us. Therefore, that is what we are going to be looking at: child sexual abuse.
What we are attempting to do is to focus on gender bias leading to normalization of gender-based violence and reducing this down through the intervention of video games.
So this research focused largely because we believe that the violence part of harassment, any kind of domestic violence or any kind of harassment that arises in the society, is the root cause is gender bias.
To have the opportunity to get involved in gender-based violence, which is such an endemic issue not only within the UK but is a global issue, and to try and make an effective intervention that could potentially change the lives of young people, I couldn't wish for to be involved in anything more.
The partnerships we've forged have underpinned a whole range of research activities and outputs.
Of course, when you look at violence, it keeps on evolving. Yesterday, it was the issue of violence and sexual violence. As we are talking now, you have the issue of online violence. Of course, it's becoming rampant. As we're talking about in other countries, we have terrorism in schools and education institutions. So the aspect of violence evolving over time requires a lot of work in terms of research. And that's the niche where 9 in 3 comes in to support us. So we need to appreciate the changing trends of violence against children, and of course coming up with strategies that are evidence-based to ensure that we are able to respond to the challenge. And of course, what's interesting is to make peace and safe environment interesting. So the computer games are making the learning interesting, the change of norms and attitudes interesting, which is really very, very important for the young people. So 9-3 is coming in to counteract. Can we use technology to promote the equitable norms that we want our children to acquire when they are still young? So we need to give violence an international approach.
The 9 in 3 is a very worthy initiative. If it was not, in my view, I would not be involved in it. Because I think it's worthy because our nation needs to take care of a problem that is hidden. In many cases, people don't come forward, they don't talk about it, they don't share, they internalize, and many of them get this stress. And and they feel sometimes, some of the women feel as if they're not worth anything, they're worthless. That means that there are other people who need to come forward and hold their hands and work with them. Many of them just need a chance at some economic empowerment, and they are able to work their way out of the problem and help their children and so on in a meaningful way. So a lot of women's organizations and many women's organizations in Jamaica have worked in this area for years. There's a lot of experience here. What we need is people to work together, like in a network.
The partnership with 9 in 3, I think, is a win-win for us. As an organization, we've been able to sit down and have a key informant conversation around what is happening on the ground, what is happening to our specific population of girls in rural Jamaica, of survivors of sexual violence who are under 16, and to be able to give the team at 9 in 3 the kind of information that they need to be able to effectively strategize how they go about subpopulations. We were also able to provide them with key informants in support groups or in terms of their focus group, and that they're able to conduct interviews with so that they could get the information that they need for their research. One of the great advantages of what this research is doing is that it's pulling together a number and varied entities that are working with gender-based violence, both in civil society, in government, and in the private entities.
And somewhere now the way such regressive thoughts are coming in, where you hear so-called leaders of the country saying that a woman's place is in her in the kitchen. I mean, not even just in the home, in the kitchen itself. Actually, the worst affected will be the women. Because the minute you bring in, these are all conversations about resurgence of patriarchal structures and norms. So the first people who will suffer is women. So we women have to kind of really be very careful and re-look at and really read between the lines of some of the statements that are being made and not take them at face value and saying, oh, they're speaking for us. They're really not speaking for us as much as on behalf of status quo that they want to maintain, and that status quo is very oppressive of women.
So gender-based violence at this point is a crisis because it has been percolated down to so many levels, to so many institutions, to so many lived realities and social spaces. I honestly feel that there needs to be intervention happening with respect to technology and social causes as well, because technology is such an important and powerful tool out there right now. It is only sensible that you look at how we can use technology to address all these issues that have been challenging us at the social front, and if at all, how can we use these to raise awareness about these issues as well. So I really look forward to seeing the impact of the pro-social video game that 9 in 3 is planning to bring out at the end of 4 years, and if at all, the kind of impact it's going to generate amongst school students within education systems. I think it's something that's a welcome change. That's something that needs to be experimented, and only the result, I think, the impact will tell how much can be done. And like all my love and luck and hope with Nanan 3.
As long as you can sensitize young people that they have a responsibility, that this is not something that they should be getting involved into, and that they should be really actually protecting women's rights, I think we've achieved it.
Having looked at the game and how it's been developed, I'm really impressed by the research methods that are being used and how it's been informed by survivor voice and perpetrator voice, as well as research studies. I would love to see the Nanan 3 Research Centre in the UK game roll the game out all across the UK in schools. Young people are shown, studies have shown that young people struggle to recognise domestic abuse in their relationships, so it's really important to educate them and do it in a way that has a lasting impact. And the use of technology is now coming into domestic abuse sector, and being able to use technology the way that the Nanan 3 Research Centre are doing is quite innovative and really important.
I was asked to come to Huddersfield University and to the Nanan 3 Research Centre to look at the game they're putting together, which will hopefully be rolled out in schools to educate the children on domestic abuse and violence. I've looked at what they've put together, the material so far today, and it's absolutely fantastic. I don't think society realises the importance of educating the next generation. Children are being brought up in these toxic households. I think the estimated average is about 130,000 children are living in these violent homes, and it's up to society, up to us to educate those children, to show them what a healthy relationship looks like. And I really do believe that this game is going to be a game changer, and I'm really excited going forward to see the finished result and coming back up to Huddersfield and hopefully helping getting it rolled out in the different schools up and down the country.
I would like to endorse our support for the Nanan 3 project, which we have recently been brought on board. The reasons for this is I feel there is a recognition for the intervention at an early age with young people to educate around partner violence, abusive relationships. I feel there is a need to educate young people to break the cycle of domestic abuse. It's becoming more and more prevalent that domestic abuse is starting at a younger age, and this may well be because of young people who have either witnessed or been the victim of a domestic abuse, and this cycle needs to be broken and changed. Therefore, this is one of the reasons why we're endorsing our support in the Nanan 3 project.
The teams on the ground in each country have conducted the research in line with the Nanan 3 work package model, leading to country and culturally specific new knowledge and recommendations, as summarised in our policy briefings. They have provided the local and cultural insights and have helped to shape and drive the work forward in their own countries, while the global team of work package leads has supported, provided guidance, and ensured consistency of methodology and ethical compliance. Of course, the whole team has benefited. From the sharing of knowledge and experience across national and cultural boundaries, an enriching and capacity building experience on all sides. We hope these partnerships will be the foundations of ongoing productive relationships.
Our centre has left an indelible impact over the past 4 years through the contributions of its team members. I hope that the mark I've left on the project is that I have offered support and friendship to people within the group, and I've also played a key role in bringing people together. For example, when everybody came to Huddersfield at the start of the project, and when we all met in Mumbai for the India Summit in the summer of 2019.
I think the legacy in terms of games development is the fact that we have 4 games, unique and authentic, each in their own way, to each target country. I hope that these games will remain useful in terms of both raising awareness of gender-based violence, as well as a valuable tool for use in teaching settings.
The work that I've collaboratively carried out with other members of my None in 3 team has helped to engage more people in the work of the centre, and in doing so it's helped to spread the key messages of None in 3, what it stands for and how it's helping to end violence against girls and women globally.
Lots of memories, experiences, and then there's lots of colleagues who later became friends. Though I haven't really left these people behind, as I'll be taking these friendships with me in the future.
I hope that I've left the teams with an understanding of looking beyond academic impact and towards societal and cultural impact. If we want to see real change, we must be able to reach the communities, those who are dealing with these issues and living these realities every day.
I leave behind these adaptable resources that give teachers the tools they need to help students engage with challenging gender-based violence issues constructively in a safe environment, enabling deepened understanding and reinforced learning.
I would hope that I've provided clarity of communication and guidance to all of our teams, whether they are researchers, doing administration, communication, or game development. I've tried to lead by example, being well organised, with attention to detail, providing support and facilitating delivery of our work just across all of the work packages in all of the countries. An operational role can be difficult. It's the lack of leaving a mark that indicates success sometimes, I think.
I believe that the work I've completed in my role justifies the design choices used for each game and amalgamates the research used to develop the MGDF, the framework, and how it was applied to each game, which then I believe can be used for easy reference in the development of future games.
I'd say the real legacy of my work as a communication officer is in the development of the None in 3 website, the establishment of some None in 3 emails and regular newsletters. Hopefully, moving forwards for the centre, the website that I've helped to develop and helped to build is going to be an incredibly useful tool for keeping us connected and sharing the work at the centre. I put a huge amount of work into the idea hub and into sharing news from the centre, and hopefully that's something which is going to have a lasting legacy. Good administrators make me think of that those lines from T.S. Eliot. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. I'm an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two. Advise the prince, no doubt, an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use. Politic, cautious, meticulous, full of high sentence but a bit obtuse, at times indeed almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool.
I think what I'm doing can help the young people to build a will towards gender equal and create a more harmonious society, and I feel it's meaningful. What I'm doing can help young people to live a better life after they have acquired such knowledge about gender equal and avoidance of gender stereotypes and this kind of knowledge.
It's all about this story for me. It's how we connect with our target audiences, stories that leave an impact, stories that generate emotive responses, which in turn result in shared responses based on truth, facts, our research. I hope that the passion I've shared with all our teams and work packages in generating these stories for people of all cultures is what I've left behind.
Indeed, we've learnt many lessons over the course of this project.
Professionally, through my involvement, I've enhanced my ability to develop learning without borders.
Loads. I've learnt loads professionally. I've never worked on an international research project before. I'd never worked in a university before. I've just been learning constantly since the moment that I arrived here about how this world of research works, how the international collaboration works, how to do things better or smoother, how to communicate more clearly and more kind of powerfully, if you like, about the work that we do. So for me, it's just been a constant kind of learning curve. Has it been a curve? It's more a learning line. I think it's just gone, I don't know if that's a curve, that's a line. But I have learned an immense amount, and I'm hugely grateful to all of my colleagues whose wonderful ideas and whose expertise has been really invaluable to me, and which I have plundered endlessly for my own betterment over the last 2 years. So that's been great.
And it's made me much more aware, sensitive to and determined to kind of try and change in whatever small ways I can the way that these issues are discussed, understood and engaged with, whether that's, conversations I'm having with friends and family, or supporting and helping to disseminate the important research findings that are coming out of the None in 3 team's work.
What I've gained as a researcher is to understand that we shouldn't be afraid to ask the hard questions around violence. And even though we have to ask them carefully and we have to give people the opportunity not to answer them, but we must recognise that asking them might be the first time that the victims of violence get to tell their stories. And it's what we do with the stories that are crucial. But I certainly think we must make sure that we ask the right kinds of questions and we provide environments and opportunities for victims to tell what happened to them.
Working as a research assistant in the centre has helped me develop my writing skills, as well as my ability to prepare and publish articles. I've also published and attended a conference in Denmark, some more paper on the UK game, which helped me develop my public speaking skills as well. Working in the games team has also allowed me to learn new skills and processes related to game design that I never thought I'd learn, which has been a positive outcome of my employment with the centre.
This was my first role in research management specifically, so I've learned a huge amount about how to handle research projects, research governance, working with funders, collaborating across international and cultural boundaries. It's been a learning curve throughout, basically, but I have loved it.
I have gained a lot more awareness of gender-based violence as an issue, particularly through our research into victim stories and the effect that it has on people. Having come from a more technical background rather than a research background, it's also been eye-opening seeing the way that this kind of research can drive effective design in games development.
Through working with our international teams, I've learned how to communicate clearly, especially as it relates to working with persons from different cultures. I've also learned the importance of having an understanding of how different groups and societies communicate and what's important for them in order to provide a product that they can relate to and will be willing to use.
And what we've learnt only makes us stronger in our resolve and ongoing work to prevent gender-based violence.
Take care of yourself, that we cannot assume that this kind of research has no impact on us, and you might not feel it, and it might not have an impact, but there's a very strong chance that it could do, and I found myself more and more impacted. Not less, but more, the more experienced I've become.
The advice I would give is not to be afraid or daunted by technologies such as games, but instead to embrace it and explore its power for good. There is so much in the way of accessible tools and technology available today, so exploring where these can make a real difference to the cause is hugely beneficial.
It's an incredibly upsetting area to work in. It is an area in which we are confronted by very, very difficult realities, very, very hard truths of what people experience and the effects that it has on them. And I think there's no way to work in this area without being affected by that. And I think the most important piece of advice I could give to anyone is to talk to people, talk to colleagues, communicate how you're feeling, be as open and as honest as you can be, and know the truth that this is a really difficult area to work in, and make sure that you don't carry anything on your own shoulders, that you're fully part of that team and that you're fully communicating.
What I would say is enjoy the ride. There's lots of things that don't go to plan when working on a multidisciplinary international research project, which at the time might be quite frustrating and disconcerting, but when you later reflect back, such deviations from the plan can actually lead to opportunities for further research that you might not have initially planned on. Finally, to work hard, showcase your talent, but also be a sponge. The Non-in-3 Centre has a diverse range of people with skill sets and experiences very different to your own. Don't underestimate how much you can learn from these people as a researcher, but as an individual as well.
The future researchers in this area who are helping the plight to end gender-based violence, I would offer my sincerest respect and encouragement. This is a heart-wrenching issue to be immersed in, and yet it's one that we all should be. It's such a vital discourse that needs to be engaged with rather than ignored, and it's through the essential work of researchers in this area that change is happening.
Working in any capacity around gender-based violence is not an easy task, but Non-in-3 is far more than just a center. It's more like an organism with many functions working together, supporting each other. So my advice to any researcher, future researcher or future researchers at Non-in-3 Center, know that you're in good hands when you're with this center. You're in an environment that helps you work through any situations that may evolve from experiencing these stories firsthand from the research. Know that you're working with a center that is reliable and has proven record of getting the job done.
I would advise future researchers working to end gender-based violence to collaborate, to work in solidarity with commitment, to maintain openness, and to embrace intercultural learning.
As a man, we know overwhelmingly gender-based violence is perpetrated by men against women, so we have to be part of the solution to this as well.
To future researchers looking to end gender-based violence and working with the centre, I would advise to make sure you speak and interact with the games team as much as possible, as their input is vital in developing pro-social games. The content is good, but it's the expertise of the game team that makes it. Additionally, they're a great team and they can offer insights into the interesting world of game design, which is fascinating, especially the impact designing a good game can have on young people today.
Please don't leave communication and visibility to be done at the end of your project. Your audiences are all important. Build rapport with your communities through the life of the project, and when the time comes for the research to be disseminated, it will be more readily accepted and used by those you want to reach.
Keep fighting the good fight. This work is so important. The girls and women of the world, half the world's population, deserves nothing less than equality, fairness, and a life free from violence. And gender equality ultimately will make the world a better place for the whole population.
My advice to future Non-in-3 researchers would be that gender-based violence is a really sensitive topic which many people in the team have been personally impacted by, and so I would urge some kindness and, in the words of Aretha Franklin, some respect.
I've always been committed to the prevention of gender-based violence, but working on your own is never going to lead to any big significant change, and I feel that we have huge power and momentum behind us by working together. So my advice to anybody in the future really is look after one another, form alliances and work together. Carry on for Non-in-3.